My biggest fear is to like die with unused talents because I know I'm gonna go before God. And I try my hardest to where it's like, I'll be like, I did it all. I used every single ounce that you gave me. That's something that motivates me to really try to excel at what I do and to just utilize everything that I've been given.
Who says you can't worship in style? Well, certainly not Sequoia Sierra, who found a calling in using her skills in fashion to add beauty to the liturgy. From vestments to habits to wedding veils, Sequoia infuses her Catholic faith into every one of her custom-made pieces. Through her design firm, she uses her expertise to guarantee beautiful and practical garments and furnishings in every worship space. Here at the Sacred Heart Retreat House, we get to see a new project she's working on for the Carmelite Sisters, with whom she has a very special connection. Sequoia, thank you so much for meeting with us. I want you to tell us about yourself. Who is Sequoia and how did you get into the fashion world?
Oh boy, that's a big loaded question. We're actually here at the Carmelite Sisters of the Most Sacred Heart of Los Angeles. I was actually born at their hospital and the nuns held me before either of my parents did. So I've had a very special connection with them since birth. Grew up volunteering at the retreat house as a junior auxiliary almost every weekend growing up. So I saw the sisters like every single day of my life for many, many years. They're incredible businesswomen. They're like fundraising queens. So they're a huge part of that story of who I am and why I am how I am. I've been into fashion and design since I was literally a toddler. Like my mom taught me to sew. Like it started off with the little plastic crochet sewing things when I was about 2. And she would give me scraps of fabric so that I could make clothes for my dolls from those scraps. And so I've always been obsessed with clothes, fashion, and how it changes people and it can make them look better or worse, and you know how it can instill confidence in them. So literally for as long as I can remember, I've always been into it.
And when did the transition of regular fashion to liturgical fashion start?
Well, so I went to school for both fashion and costume design. So I ended up, even though I did some photo shoots and things like that and personal styling, but then I started styling the host of the LA Business Today show. And so that kind of led me into the TV and film world. And then I started doing costume design. And I did that for a while, but to make it big in the industry, you know, there's a lot of films that I didn't really feel comfortable doing. So I was just kind of like, okay, well, I'm really good at this though. I love it. Like, okay, Lord, like what's going on? Because I went to school for this, so now what? And one nun friend of mine, she actually needed her habit remade. And she was like, Sequoia, you're Catholic and you're a designer, so you could do it. And it just was like this click, this little light bulb moment where for some reason I hadn't put those two together. She's the one who really inspired that. And then it just took off. But then in thinking of names, I knew I wanted a name that if anybody was looking to have someone make vestments, habits, whatever, anything liturgical, and that was the word that kind of stuck out. So it was like the liturgical company. And surprisingly, nobody had that name. And so I was like, okay, reserving all of that. And that became the name. And then, you know, aside from the liturgical work, I'll go to a client's house and help them redo their wardrobe for the season. Or, you know, somebody will be like, can you make this garment custom made for me? Like, we really would want like a custom made dress or skirt.
And what is it that you're requested more for in the liturgical company?
I would say there's like a top 3.
Okay.
It would be vestments, habits, and then stoles, whether it's just regular confessional stoles, or exorcism stoles, which we've done as well. It used to be that when you would enter the convent or a monastery, you would learn to sew your habit in the novitiate. And everybody already knew how to sew. But nowadays, most people don't know how to sew. A lot of these religious orders now need to find someone that they can outsource that work to. So I've had a lot who have searched for that and found us. So we've been doing, you know, multiple religious orders habits now.
I do want to talk about something you just mentioned,
Yes.
exorcism stoles.
Oh boy.
Yes. Tell me how that experience is like, because I'm pretty sure it's huge.
Yes, there's an institute for exorcists that trains exorcists from all over the world. I think it was, again, somebody who was looking for a liturgical designer, somebody who was Catholic, because There definitely are repercussions when you work on exorcism things, as I've experienced. The head exorcist of that organization does make sure that they pray, especially for me during that time, for my protection, because I told him, I'm like, I can't handle seeing the devil, Father. So if anything like that happens, I'm done.
Yeah.
But weird things were like, I was sewing and like it kept just messing up and getting stuck, and it was weird, and I would like rethread the machine and like fix all the issues that should have fixed it.
Yeah.
Would not stop until I got holy water finally and threw it on the machine, and then boom, was able to keep sewing away happily with no issues. But yeah, things like that will happen.
There's a lot of symbolism in art. Can you tell us about any symbolism that you have in your designs, perhaps?
My style of design for vestments, it's very textile focused. I believe that using beautiful textiles, that just like elevates it. And I feel like that lets it speak for itself. And some of them can have different meanings. Like historically, they would sometimes have more of like a linen lining or a cotton, like a wax cotton. And it helped them to remember the poverty of Christ, but the outside would be elaborate because it was to glorify God. So I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah.
You know, little things like that.
I know a lot of women who relate their fashion to the liturgical year, you know, and I think it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Is there something that you can say to them?
Just like fashion and style, I feel like it's very personalized. So it doesn't have to be particularly like a set thing. It's not like, oh, you have to wear brocade, purple, violet brocade for Lent. But it's definitely can help, you know, people get into that mindset. Being a newlywed now, we're trying to like figure out what traditions and things we want to do, especially once we have children. But I think a home altar where you have like different liturgical colors draped over, like the fabric that's draped on the little altar. That way you're reminded of the season you're in and your children. So it kind of extends their education, their Catholic education to the home. So that way they're seeing it at home, they're seeing it at church.
How does it make you feel, you know, when somebody's admiring your work or like wearing something that you created?
It's really one of the greatest feelings in the world I mean, there's even times where it kind of hits me like, wow, somebody actually pays me money to make something with my own hands and my own mind out of like nothing, basically. And that's actually something the world needs. It's filling a need and it's helping to create beauty.
Why is it important that they're also beautiful?
Right. Well, true beauty is always supposed to direct us to God. It's supposed to make us think of something greater and beyond us. That's why it causes awe, because you're like, how is this a human achievement, you know?
Yeah.
But it shows the divine within us, that we're created in God's image and likeness. It is like one of the best forms of evangelization because it speaks for itself. I think it's important for Catholics to get into these fields. Like I've actually had people who their children want to be in the industry with film or with fashion, and they're like, oh, I don't think that's safe. And it's like, well, nothing's safe. So I'm a huge proponent of people getting out into the world and, you know, really affecting the culture. You can love fashion and beauty and embrace all of it and be even more of your Catholic self in doing that.
Sequoia, tell me about this beautiful design.
Thank you. Yes. So for the Carmelite sisters, I designed this postulant and novice uniform. So that's when the young women enter the convent. Initially, they wear this. So it's a skirt, there's a vest, and then there's a little capella. So it's a fairly simple design, but I liked this old style with the capella in part because when I was a little girl here, the sisters used to have these old photo albums of the whole community. The sisters, when they first came from Mexico, because they were founded in Mexico, to here, their postulants had a cape. They had a very different skirt and veil. It was much longer then, but with their work in the kitchen and all that they do, it's a little cumbersome if it's ankle length. But I remember I wasn't supposed to be up because I was supposed to be sleeping, but I would sneak down from the room that we would stay in and go into the library, into this little room where they kept all those photo albums. And I'd go and get a cup of M&Ms that they had in the kitchenette, and I'd sit there with my M&Ms going through the books of all of the photos. So when Sister asked me to create something, I said, actually, when I was little, I did see this inspiration. What if we take from the original design that they came with from that? And they're like, oh my gosh. So, you know, that little act of disobedience paid off. So, so that's why we created this. And that's what they wear now.
Tell me about this other project that you're working on.
Yes, so these go with their own respective copes. And these we didn't make. I'm not sure who made these. Some of these, like this one is very like antique, but we do a lot of restoration work. And so we'll either do a new lining. I believe this is one of the ones that needs a new lining because it's so yellowed and old, but the top part is good. So we'll typically save whatever's good and then we'll make an addition to it. And I try to keep the original style for things like this so that it all is cohesive and goes together and it doesn't look like, oh, you have a new patch on this old thing. So we really try to match it and make it seamless.
This is, you know, it feels holy, you know, you can't take it lightly. And even me trying, I don't even feel like I can touch it because it's just, they're just really special, and what you do is that special as well. Sequoia, thank you so much for sharing your beautiful designs with us and also with our religious communities.
Oh, thank you.
You know, you're another example of the diversity that there is in sacred art. Beauty draws us into the divine, and with your gifts, that is something that you inspire us to do also in our worship. God really gives us his best, and he calls us to give him ours as well. So we shouldn't be afraid to approach the sacred with a little bit of style.